Okay, Joel, I was thinking about it before I came on this interview, and I realize whether it's winter or summertime, I am a soup person through and through. So I love this collab of a cup of noodles. Talk to me about why it was a perfect fit.
I mean, for me, it's a perfect fit because I am like you, a big soup head, a big noodle person, whether I love a noodle no matter how it comes, but especially when it comes in a cup. And then I'm also a big party guy, famously so. And I think I like to think of myself as someone who knows what makes a good party, who heightens and elevates a party when I'm there. And so I think it was just sort of a match made in heaven for me because I not only have been to many bad holiday parties in my day, but I've thrown some amazing holiday parties in my day. So I think it really works.
Give me the three biggest tips for throwing the absolute perfect holiday party.
Music is king. It is number one. If you're not thinking about the playlist weeks in advance, then you're doing it wrong. I think people like instructions when it comes to parties, especially holiday parties. Like, don't say like wear whatever, show up in whatever. I think people find that very stressful ultimately, and they want some direction sartorially to wear. Like just say like wear your ugliest sweater. If that's annoying, like say like, business casual, whatever, but just give them some sort of instructions. And then you as a host are primarily responsible for the vibe. That is your number one responsibility of the party, which means you're circulating, which means you're engaged with the party. Unfortunately, this is sort of my theory on things is that you will be the person who's enjoying the party the least. Because you're the one who has the responsibility on your shoulders to make sure every single other person there is having a good time. You're circulating, you're talking to everybody. You're never touching down with somebody for a long period of time. You might not be connecting with anybody at the party, but you're making sure that those connections are happening elsewhere.
Now, is that mentality going into the wedding? You have a New Year's wedding coming
No.
up. Okay, no.
So here's the thing is I told my planner when we interviewed her, I said, I've never truly enjoyed a party that I have thrown myself, and I would like my wedding to be the one exception to that. I don't want to have to think about anything. I don't want to have to think about the music or anything. All of that's gone into the planning phase. And if you're a good enough planner, I will say, I think that like if you've planned everything to a T weeks in advance, then there is a better chance of you sort of being able to let it run, let the simulation run, and enjoy, and maybe you'll enjoy your own party. But no, my wedding is something I do not want to have to think about anything but my own enjoyment.
Exactly, 100%. And I love that you stay booked and busy at all times. Loot is comedy gold. It's Emmy nominated.
Thank
One
you.
of my favorite shows out there. I love that you said Maya really hangs out with everyone. Nobody's behind the scenes in their trailers. What is an absolute core memory of filming with her the past three seasons?
I mean, speaking of my wedding, my one of my biggest core memories of working with Maya is I had just when we were shooting season one, I had just started dating my fiance, and I remember like I was so anxious about it. I was so in my head and in my feelings about like whether it was going to work, how to do this because I had never really done a successful relationship before. I'd never been in a long term relationship before and never made it past like the 3 month situationship mark. And I remember talking to Maya about this incessantly the first season when we were shooting, and she gave me so much great advice. I mean, she barely even knew me at that point, and she's Maya Rudolph. She had no like I had no business peppering her with questions about how to make it work, but she's been in a very long, successful relationship, and I thought it was very sweet that she actually engaged with me and like actually gave me advice and yeah, it was really a great way to bond early on was my relationship troubles
That
or
is
worries.
amazing. Best piece of advice she gave you for a relationship. I mean, that's like the queen telling you do this. And look, there's a marriage happening now, so it paid off.
Yeah, I mean her refrain to me, and it's one that I have kept close to my heart and given to other people, which is just, hey, chill out. I think you're actually thinking about this way more than you need to think about it because if it's meant to be, if it works, then again, it's not going to require all of this energy to make it work. And she ended up being really correct in that, like, once we were, you know, established, it really was just so easy. And if it's not easy, and if like, for me, like, she really talked me through figuring out, where is the stress coming from? Is it coming from something he's doing? Is it coming from the relationship itself? Or is it completely self-generated, which it was. And I think, like, her helping me figure that out was a huge part of me sort of calming down long enough to let the relationship happen on its own.
That's incredible. And it's such a good piece of advice for anyone. The fashions on Loot are so good. Like, I love it. You have to tell me, have you ever been able to take anything home from wardrobe?
No, I mean, a few things here and there they've let me sneak off with. Kirsten Mann, who's our costume designer, is a genius. And the thing about her is that she's got such a good eye that, like, so much of the stuff that I wear, like, I would say about 40% of it is actual designer, you know, runway ready, like, and then the other half is like ASOS and H&M, and she just manages to find, like, the single pieces at those stores that actually look really elevated and look really expensive. And so she's definitely let me take some of the H&M if I
Okay.
want
Okay.
it.
Still,
But
still
anything
cute.
that's a label, anything that's a real label, it's like Fort Knox. I'm never getting away with any of it.
That's what I assumed. I'm like, the fashions are so good. They probably have it on lock over there. So Nicholas had such a dramatic ending for season three. I'm curious to know, you said it was kind of a relief for your character to take on problems of his own versus play off your real life. Why was that?
I think for me, like, I haven't had a chance to really creative, like, in terms of my own creative life, like, tackle some of the things that we were tackling in the show. I think, like, a lot of stuff around my heritage and my birth family and stuff like that. And they were really sensitive to that, and they knew that, like, um, you know, they didn't want to push it any further than I was comfortable with. And they always, like, comedy was always the, you know, king on our show. And I think, like, they wanted to utilize it in a way that humanized Nicholas and was still funny. But they never wanted it to become something that, like, was centered about the character or centered, you know, they just wanted it, they always wanted to keep it light enough. And I think that, like, parts of my story, especially some of the stuff that I haven't even really explored creatively yet, is not necessarily, like, the biggest comedy gold mine. And so I think for them, they were like, let's use the stuff that Joel is comfortable with, and then serves the comedy of the show, and then the rest of it, I think we can leave alone.
Yeah, that was a great balance, and it highlighted those issues a lot as well. I have to tell you, Joel, I swear, if I take one thing away from 2025, it's K-pop Demon Hunters. This movie dominated. I love the song Golden. Why do you think it resonated with people the way it did?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think it is really beautiful. I think the animation style is really gorgeous, and I think it really highlights the fact that so much of the animation that's coming out right now is really cheap and doesn't, and it is sort of, you take for granted how beautiful it can be when the work is put into it. And I think the music is a huge part of that. Obviously, I mean, the thing is the music, if the music flopped in that, which is so hard to do, stories and movies where you are where the character at the center of the story is supposed to be extremely talented in one way or another, it's really hard to pull that off well. Like, movies that center comedians or designers or artists of any kind, it's really hard to display that they're good at whatever, you know,
Right.
creative outlet they're supposed to be good at in the movie. And so I think, like, they really hit that out of the park. Obviously, you cannot escape Golden even if you wanted to.
I heard
And
it four times in one day, like in a
yeah,
row.
and you were happy for it.
I was.
And I think, like, and then it comes down back to the writing. I think, like, the story is so simple and so universal. I think that that's the thing, is that this is, again, one of those great movies that you can watch with your entire family, and there's something in there for everybody. And it is like a timeless story of wanting to belong and finding the family that will accept you no matter what. And I think we all have a desire for that, and see that in K-pop Demon Hunters, and want that. And so I think that is those are the three big reasons why I think it hit with such a wide range of audience members.
Now, has there been any serious talk of a sequel? And do you have an idea of what you would love to see maybe writers dive deeper into if we came back?
Well, so I haven't been involved in any of the discussions about the sequel yet,
Yet.
but I know that like they'd be fools not to make one, and I know that there's one in the works right now. I will say, for posterity's sake, that my Saja boy, Romance Saja, is one of the only Saja boys that does not die on screen. So we don't know what happened to Romance, and so maybe the sequel could really, bring back some of the OG Saja boys and see what they're doing these days. I would gladly come back and voice him again.
I love that. Okay, and we have to talk Scrubs. This is so iconic that it's coming back. One of the best shows out there. Were you an OG fan or did you binge when you got the part? You were. Okay.
No, I watched the shit out of that show when I was growing up. I mean, and don't Zach doesn't love when I say growing up, but I did. I mean, it was syndicated everywhere when I was in high school, and so I ended up seeing. I definitely have seen like every episode, but they all out of order. I'm actually we're my partner and my partner's never seen it, and so we're for the first time ever I'm watching it in chronological order. And it's so interesting because it's like bringing up all these memories and stuff like that. But it's really it's crazy to be a part of a show that I watched for so long and is so beloved too. My partner keeps likes to say that this is going to be the one thing that straight people know me from moving forward.
I know
So
I read that. I
um,
love that. That it was the funniest quote. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
you're gonna be on a national platform. Like everyone's gonna
yeah.
know you from Scrubs. It's gonna be so good. Has there been any added pressure taking on such a beloved show?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And I think like, when we came in, I think there's so much pressure on Zach and the rest of the OG crew and the OG writers and producers that came back for it. Because listen, the fan base is loud and powerful, and they know what they want to see, and they want to see the show return to its roots. And I think that we really accomplished that. I know, like, just being in it, like it really does feel like a return to form for the show. It really is like all the things that I loved about the show in its early seasons they're really circling back, and they're finding new ways to tell stories that also stay true to the tone of the original, which is really, I think they've struck like the perfect balance of servicing all of those old elements that the fans fell in love with in the first place, while introducing a lot of new elements that make the show feel fresh and current.
That's so exciting. It was one of those shows where even if you weren't looking for it, I just remember it being on TV all the time. And I
Yep.
too, I watched out of order because it was always on. But it's so interesting because this was really their world for so long. What is the
hmm
best piece of advice the OGs gave you, Donald, Sarah, Zach, something that they really instilled in you during your time filming?
Mm, you know, I think like like the thing that Zach would say and does say, because we still have we have another month left to
Oh, we're
go,
in
and
it.
so
Okay.
yeah, and I think like again, like for him the comedy has to be key, but the comedy has to be grounded in something real. And that is, I think, the strength of this show is that there is a sentimentality to it. There is like there is an absurd, bent to some of the humor. A lot of the dream sequences and fantasy sequences obviously are fantasy, but they're all rooted in a real emotion, a real want, a real grounded sense of humanity that all of the characters at their core, even the biggest sort of craziest ones at their core, have something that's grounding them to a real recognizable humanity. And I think that's sort of what I've taken away from this experience is remembering that like yes, we want to tell a really great joke, but it has to be recognizably real for it to hit.
Oh, I'm so excited. You're on TV, movies, now you're also on the mic. I love bad dates. This podcast cracks me up. Who is a dream guest for 2026? Whose horror stories do we want to hear?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think Cole Escola has been a white whale for us for a long time. I'm friends with Cole. I've been friends with Cole for a long time, and I know that they have a lot of experience in the topic of my podcast. So would love to get them. And then I think for me, like some big, like a big get that would be amazing for me is Melissa McCarthy. I desperately want to know everything about her dating life before she met her current husband and stuff like that. And I just know that would be a really, really fun conversation.